So we got Bulls and Nets tonight, which is a really good matchup. And as you mentioned, Kyrie Irving will be on the floor tonight. Let me get Woj into the conversation here, because we know that right now Kyrie is only playing road games. But it feels like there is at least some movement, some talk of some movement on where that could potentially change. Woj, what do we actually know?
Greeny, what I do think there is within the Nets is optimism and some hope that Kyrie Irving could be more than just a part-time player this season, that he could play in more than the road games and, potentially by the time the team gets to the playoffs. Now, the quickest, obvious route for that would be for Kyrie Irving to get vaccinated. But short of that, listen, there are New York City mandates on players having to be vaccinated to play, but there, is a scenario where the Nets could decide that they're willing to pay a fine every game to have Kyrie Irving play. Now, they're not willing to do that now. They have an owner in Joe Tsai who's been very emphatic in the need for people to get vaccinated, and I don't think the Nets right now are going to go against that and publicly pay fines for a player who's unvaccinated to play. But certainly with the league, CDC relaxations of COVID rules, the world could look different for the Nets by the end of the season. Remember, they changed their stance once on Kyrie Irving. We don't want him as a part-time player. They decided we do want him as a part-time player. That could potentially change again before the postseason. They've got some time now to see him on the floor with their group about a month to the trade deadline to kind of take inventory on what this team can be. So this is an important stretch for Brooklyn, who needs to start playing better basketball.
Absolutely. All right. It's a very important little time to keep an eye on Kyrie. I know that you'll have all the latest on that, Woj. Thank you. Meanwhile, we'll bring it out here. And it does seem to be a contrast of these two teams at the top of the standings. The Nets are 2.5 games behind Michael Wilbon, the Bulls team that you know so well. And it just feels like there is a chemistry Chicago has that Brooklyn does not. What is it? How do you define it?
By the way, I'm not going to Vegas, okay? So let's set that aside. This starts, any talk of this has to start with Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Because when the deal was made, there were so many people around the league, and I know you guys heard scouts and coaches, and people were like, hey, this can't work.
I was one of them. I was one of them. I said it on my podcast.
Listen,
I was one of them.
But there were a lot of people. You had a lot of company, as you know.
Yeah.
And so those guys got together, I guess, after Zach, got out of his Olympic experience. And they talked and they texted, and it is, from conversations I've had, it worked immediately. And they weren't presumptuous about it. They know they had to work at it. And it seems to have just permeated. You talk about trickle down throughout the entire team. And these guys love playing together, love practicing together, love being around each other. Reminds me somewhat of the Suns team last year when Chris Paul got there. And he and Booker started that at the top, and that trickled.
JJ, what's made it work better than you expected it to?
Look, the pieces fit. And I think the Bulls-Suns comparison is a great comparison. Zach LaVine had not been on a winning team. Neither had Devin Booker. Correct. Chris and DeMar come in. They get a guy like Jay Crowder in free agency with the mid-level, gritty. The Bulls bring in Caruso. Ayton Vucevic, there's a comparison there. You got Billy Donovan, Monty Williams. They coach together. There's all these things. To me, the Bulls, they complement each other. They have a team full of guys that star in their roles, like Caruso, like Lonzo Ball.
The Bulls were genius this offseason. And the thing that the Bulls have that the Nets don't, they have lower expectations. Like the Nets have, they should be winning the East, winning it all type of expectation.
Right.
And when we see the Bulls, it's like, they're really good. And what they did was smart. They got seasoned veterans who were 20-point scorers where they already were. If the Bulls win, it's because DeRozan and LaVine are efficient. But they're going to score 25 almost every game. Vucevic was a 20-point scorer as well. And then your backcourt is defenders. Ball, who's a passer, Caruso, who's a defender. And those dudes are already back on defense to help their balance.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.